I ask you, were there many people in the party? And you answer, yes, there was much of it there. And then I reply, maybe you mean that there was some people pudding? Or a lot of people pudding? What's the problem here? The problem here is that you have used incorrectly the adverbs of quantity, right? You have said much people, and much people is not correct. You have to say many people, because people is countable and plural, right? But don't worry, because we are going to solve this in this season, where we are going to be working with adverbs of quantity. But first of all, you know what I'm going to tell you, right? I'm going to remind you of how welcome are your likes, your suggestions, your doubts, your participation in this channel, in this great family that keeps on sharing everything with each other, right? I mean everything. When I say everything, I mean obviously experiences concerning our English sessions, right? Experiences, suggestions, doubts, etc. All right, so let's go and continue with our PowerPoint presentation. All right, here we are. Here's the logo of the channel. We are going to deal with session 8, adjectives of quantity, first part, because later on next week we will continue dealing with also adjectives of quantity, but this time second part, right? And an image that has appeared here. Little juice, a little juice, much juice, juice. Why? Because this is uncountable, right? And these are the typical adverbs of quantity that go with uncountable nouns. And here are the ones going with countable nouns, right? Candies, few, a few, many, etc. So let's have a look at this. But first of all, as ever, we are going to check last week's practice, dealing with indefinite pronouns. Your needs, habits, requests. Well, I'm not going to repeat it because all of you know what this section deals or goes with or deals about, right? Fill in the gaps with direct indefinite pronoun or adjective. Does your family eat something after lunch? Why something? If it's interrogative, because we expect a positive answer, right? Remember, everybody at home eats everything. All right, everybody, everything. I never sleep in somebody else's house. I don't look at anybody when I drive. I look at nobody when I drive. You can say both, remember, right? They are equivalent. My mates don't drink any tea for breakfast. My mates drink no tea for breakfast. None of my neighbors park in street. There isn't any postbox left in my district, or there is no postbox left in my neighborhood. In this case, any with negative, there isn't any, or there is no, right? Equivalent also. Agenda web, mention English, webreference.com, and that's it, right? Now let's continue with this week's content, adjectives of quantity. First, little, few, much, many, a lot of, enough, plenty of. Well, I suppose that all of you know them, right? This is something very basic. Little, a little with uncountable nouns. As you can see, there is a difference between little and a little. Many people think it's exactly the same, right? Even they are confused in different languages. But in fact, when you say, as you can see in the image, this is very clear in the image, right? When you say a little is more than if you say simply little. A little has a positive sense. When you say little, it has a negative sense, right? Exactly the same as if you say a few or few. Little is for uncountables and few is for countables, right? Little, which means not enough, negative sense, we have already said it, right? Some examples. She speaks little English, so it's difficult to communicate with her, right? Because her English is not enough to be able to communicate. That's why we say little and negative sense. She speaks little. if you use little as a pronoun. Is there any honey? There is little honey. We have to buy. Little honey means that there is almost no honey, almost, right? But for this reason you have to buy. There is little if you answer with a pronoun. A little, enough, and positive sense, right? So let's have a look at the same examples to check the difference, to perceive the difference. She speaks a little English, so we can chat with her because she speaks a little, not much, but enough to be able to keep a basic conversation, right? She speaks a little, if you want to use it as a pronoun, so we can chat. There's a little honey, we don't need to buy, right? A little honey, positive, consequently, we still can keep on avoiding buying some honey, right? So we can wait to buy later on. There's a little pronoun we don't need to buy if you want to use it as a pronoun, right? Few, a few with countable nouns. This is little quantity with countable nouns. Few means not enough. It's a negative sense for countables, right? I visit few clients daily. I need to visit more, right? They are not enough. Not enough clients. You need to visit more clients. Or I visit few if you want to use it as a pronoun, right? Are there tourists in the hotel? There are few tourists. We need to attract more. Why? Because few tourists is not good. It's negative, right? There are few if you want to use it as a pronoun. A few, enough, positive sense. Let's have a look at the same examples with a few. I visit a few clients daily. It isn't bad, right? I mean, could be better, obviously, no? But if you say a few, of course, is more than few, right? Consequently, is rather positive. Although I repeat, could be better than that, right? Or I visit a few if you want to use it as a pronoun. And there are a few tourists in the hotel. That's good. The same as before. Could be better, yes. But a few, of course, is more than few, right? Consequently, we are dealing with a positive quantity. There are a few if you want to use it as a pronoun. And now we're going to continue with much, a lot. I mean, before we have been working with little quantity, now we are going to work with big quantity, right? So you can say much, a lot of, lots of, or more formal, a great deal or a great deal of, right? When do we use of or not? We use of when you need to say what, the what you're talking about, right? If you need to say something else, then you have to use of. But if you mean you're talking about what has been previously said, I mean, if you are using it as a pronoun, then you don't need to use of, right? You simply say a lot, lots, or a great deal. Many mice, much cheese, much. Uncountable, many, countable. Much is only used with uncountables and in negative questions. You cannot use much in positive questions, right? Do you have much work in your office? No, I don't have much work, or I don't have much, or I don't have a lot, or I don't have lots, if you use it as pronouns, right? Or positive answer, yes, I have a lot or lots of work, a great deal of work in my office, or yes, I've a lot or lots. Is there much money for the project? No, there isn't much money, there isn't a lot, there isn't lots, or there isn't much, if you want, right? You can also use much as a pronoun. Yes, there is a lot, there is a lot of money, there is lots of money, there is a great deal of money for the project, or simply, yes, there is a lot, or there is lots, if you want to use it as a pronoun, right? Many, a lot of, lots of, more formal, a great deal of, a large number of, when we are working with countables, right? Countable nouns, in this case, we use many. Can you use many in affirmative sentences? Normally, the same as with much, In English, it is preferred to use many with questions and with negatives, but it is also rather frequently to use it in affirmative sentences, right? So are there lots of people in villages in winter? No, there aren't many lots of a large number of people in villages in winter, or simply no, there aren't many lots of, or a great deal of, if you want to use it as a pronoun, right? Does the exam include many, lots of, a large number of, a great deal of questions? Yes, it includes many, a lot of, lots of. In this case, this is an affirmative sentence. You can see we are using many, because it is allowed. We can do it, right? It's colloquial. Yes, it includes many, a lot of, if you want to use it as a pronoun, right? And now we are going to finish. As ever, if you like this channel, if you have enjoyed it, if you think you have learned something, if you find it interesting, I invite you to become a part of our great family, right? So if you like this channel, sign up. And that's all for this week. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your patience. And see you next week. Bye bye. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good time. And see you.